What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Hunt Family Off-Road. Today we're going to be installing our new upper control arms from JBA Offroad. But before we get into that, I want to pass along some announcements that I have real quick before we get into today's install. So first things first, I just want to apologize for the stagnant posting of videos or lack thereof. I've just been really busy with family stuff lately, and I've been kind of really consumed by all that. But with that being said, I just want to announce that I'm a dad now. Super blessed and thankful. It's been about 3 weeks since my daughter was born. Mama and baby are very healthy. It's just been a great experience so far. We're just super thankful. It's been awesome. She's great. So yeah, but second thing I just want to put out there is I just want to say thank you to you guys, the viewers. We just surpassed 100 subscribers, which is great. Small milestone. Hopefully it just keeps growing. You know, this is just something I do on the side of my regular work life, so it feels good to know that I reach out into some years as well. So just thank you so much for that. And that's all I got, so let's go ahead and get this going.
So I went ahead and swapped the driver's side already so I can do a little comparison between what I had previously on my truck, which were the Icon delta joints. Just for a little perspective, this is the passenger side JBA and the driver's side Icons. The JBAs have a 90 degrees range of motion and have a sealed boot to protect the ball joint from the elements, which is the main reason I decided to get these, but we'll get to that later. The Icons have a delta joint, which has a metal-on-metal construction, which is also supposed to keep out the elements. They both have 3 Zerk fittings to be maintained with grease. They do have some differences when it comes to the bushings, with JBAs being made out of synthetic elastomer, which allegedly has higher tensile strength, elasticity, and load capacity than polyurethane, which Icons are made out of. JBA also has grease ports to allow grease to be distributed easier when doing maintenance, while Icons do not and are smooth. The main reason I'm making this switch is because of the open design from the delta joint. The joint would just get way too much gunk and dirt in it, and 2 out of the 3 of the Zerk fittings on both sides of my vehicle would not accept any new grease. So if I ever wanted to do maintenance on them, I'd have to take them out completely to clean and then re-grease them, which is just ridiculous. So, with the closed design of JBA keeping the elements out and the grease ports on the bushings letting the grease distribute easier, hopefully that will solve my problems. Now let's get going on installing the passenger side. First thing we're going to do is obviously remove your tire and free up some workspace. When you get it off, start with getting these splash guards moved down and undoing the clips. All you got to do is pinch the backs and they should come right off. Now that we got some workspace, the first thing we're going to remove is this little bracket that's attached to the upper control arm that holds brake line. You're going to grab a 12mm, you're going to grab a 10mm and go ahead and take that off. Next thing you're going to want to remove is this bracket back here that also holds another brake line down. Removing it just gives you more clearance to get some tools in there that you're going to need to later. Now getting this nut off should be easy, but this part can make or break you, getting the knuckle off. The driver's side gave me hell to get this thing off. I beat the crap out of it and it would not budge at all. It took me forever to get it off. So I bought this fancy little ball joint separator, which I was very stoked to use. Kind of puts pressure on the knuckle as it pushes up on the threads when you tighten the bolt down. But that's what it's supposed to do, so we'll see if it works. But as you can see here, I maxed it out and it just wasn't big enough. Look at me just staring at it in disappointment.
They ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because...
Well, we tried technology, so we're going to go back to caveman thinking. We're just going to smack the knuckle with a hammer and see what happens. And look at that, it came right out. Don't expect that to happen if you are doing this yourself. It's most likely going to be a pain in the butt to get it out. Moving on to the next thing we got to remove is the through bolt that comes out this way into your engine bay, and to do that we have to slightly pull back this sheet metal. Go ahead and hold the bolt with a wrench and get your impact in there and take the nut off. Once the nut is off, gracefully grab your washers. Now once you start pulling your bolt, you can get it past the metal you initially bent, but the metal becomes double plied and it's hard to bend, so I'll show you how I got it past it. So I have this old chisel that I've had forever, which I use for just about anything besides being a chisel, and I just put it right up under the flat part of the bolt and I just beat it a couple times with a hammer. Now that's moved it about an inch, but now it's tied up against that wall on its side, so it still needs a little hefty push. To do that, I grab an extension and I lightly tap it through the bottom. Now all we have to do is retrieve it out of the engine bay. It's kind of hard to see, but the bolt perfectly weaves through a bunch of things and you shouldn't have to move anything. You should be able to get it just fine. You'll know you've pulled it out far enough when you hear all the washers drop into your skid. Now, if you order these upper control arms, it will come with this high-performance bushing lubricant, which the instructions say to, well, lubricate the bushings, so I did just that. Just a little side note while I do this, these are the standard upper control arms from JBA, but they do make heavy-duty ones, which are sick, and well, did I want them? Yes. Did I really need them? My wife says no. But nevertheless, moving on. Now putting the through bolt back in, you're going to need some help. I held the control arm in place and held the washers on the front side while my wife pushed the bolt through from the engine bay, and this is how it went.
That's what I got right there.
Is it hitting the wall?
No.
You can't push it. Okay. Alright, perfect.
Done?
Yep.
Once the bolt was in the first side, I just let it hang while I squeezed in the small washer in between. There are 4 washers, 2 thick, 2 thin. The thin ones go on the outside while the thin ones go on the inside. Now getting that bolt all the way back in that wall is going to give you some more trouble. So what I did was I took off my grill and grabbed my breaker bar and I fed it all the way to the bolt head and I gave it a couple taps with a hammer and it went right in. Getting this to torque spec for the shear bolt is 85 foot-pounds. Tightening the ball joint nut, once it gets snug, you're going to have to hold the post with a 3/8 wrench and then continue to tighten. Now that it's installed, it's time to grease it up, pumping 4 to 5 pumps each, making sure that the hose is in line with the Zerk fittings or else it'll just blast out the side. I promise I did the other side, I don't know why I took it out, but yeah. Go ahead and resecure that back left brake line bracket with your 12mm bolt. Try and bend back that sheet metal the best you can, and since we scratched up a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and hit it with some black spray paint to cover up that bare metal. Now to secure the brake line that goes on the control arm, it's a little different. If you look at the icon, it has a 10mm post for the bracket to go on, while on the JBA it just has a hole for a 10mm bolt to go in. So I happen to have a few little 10mm bolts and some washers that worked with that, so I just secured it with them. And now that that paint is probably dry, go ahead and put back up your splash guards. And finally, put your tire back on, lugs back on, lower your truck, torque to spec, you know the deal. And that's everything. All said and done, I rate this install a difficulty of a 5 out of 10.
Alright guys, that's all we got for today. Sorry it's a little dark, I forgot to do the outro and it started pouring. So if you try to do this install yourself, just know that the driver's side is going to give you a lot more trouble than the passenger side, just because you got to move a lot more stuff to get that through bolt all the way through. But let me know in the comments below what you prefer, you know, whether it be the ball joint, a uni ball, or like a delta joint, like Icon has. So that's all for today, and I'll see you in the next one.